Welcome to Mooney Grove Park, where visitors have enjoyed the shade and natural beauty of Valley Oaks for nearly 100 years. The land for this Tulare County park, located in the San Joaquin Valley of California, was acquired in 1909 from the Mooney family through Mr. Hugh Michael Mooney. I'm Carl Switzer, current president of the Tulare County Historical Society, and through the efforts of the society and artist Sam B. Pena, Hugh Michael Mooney will soon be memorialized here at the entrance of Mooney Grove Park. History and hearty dedication combine to bring to life this memory in bronze. The majestic Valley Oaks, now preserved in Mooney Grove, were part of a forest which extended from the foothills almost to Tulare Lake, a broad band from 4 to 6 miles wide. This oak forest abounded in game and the great production of acorns, and afforded an easy living for the Yokuts Indians.
The Tulare County Historical Society committed to placing a statue of Hugh Mooney at Mooney Grove Park to honor not only Hugh, but the entire Mooney family. The Mooney family moved to Visalia from Murphys, California in 1869. Michael Hugh Mooney and Eliza Mary Bethel Mooney, both natives of Ireland, had a total of 9 children. Their first 2 children, Sarah and Mary, died of diphtheria at ages 4 and 2 respectively. Only 6 of the Mooney children survived childhood. These children were John Joseph, born September 10, 1860, marrying Hortense C. Keene in 1901, and dying at age 44 on August 14, 1904. Mary Elizabeth Mooney, born September 15, 1862, marrying Benjamin Basil Parker and having 3 children, Anna, Mary Louise, and John Joseph. Hugh Michael Mooney, born July 31, 1864, dying at age 70 on October 12, 1934. Mary Xavier, born March 2, 1867, remaining single as she pursued a nursing career, dying on June 11, 1921. Anna, born May 2, 1869, marrying Richard Edward Toomey and bearing 2 children, Hugh E. and Margaret Agnes, dying in 1955. And Teresa, born April 7, 1871, marrying William Hunt in 1905 and after his death, W. W. Phillips in 1908. Michael Ambrose Mooney, the 9th child of Michael and Eliza Mooney, survived less than 2 months. Author and former educator William R. Allen has written 2 books addressing the Mooney legacy. The first book, titled Michael Mooney, was published in 2002. The second book, Mooney's Oak Grove, was first published in 2003. Mr. Allen retains a great store of knowledge about Michael Mooney and his family.
He came by himself, brought his brewery materials, big pots and anything else that goes with making a brewery. Very quickly, as soon as he arrived, he found a place where the Visalia Theater is now. It's the Enchanted Theater where children have plays. And he bought that on the corner and an old brick building next door, which was going to be the home for his big family. Mrs. Mooney was not too happy living in that building next to the brewery, and so she kept complaining. And since she had relatives in San Francisco, she usually went up there at the summertime when it was so hot. And Michael surprised her in 1875. He built her a 2-story house with lots of bedrooms and a tin metal bathtub. She was very happy when she returned. It was more fitting in with her expectations of being a lady of the town. One of the interesting characters around Visalia, and he became very familiar with Michael Mooney, was Benjamin Willis. Now, Benjamin Willis was a really first settler, one of the first settlers here in Visalia. In 1852, he came here, and one of the pieces of land, large chunk of land that he got a deed on, was what eventually was going to be Mooney's Grove. Poor Mr. Willis had a son who liked to gamble, and who should provide money to gamble? Well, Michael Mooney was always a soft touch. Good Irishman, he liked his booze and he liked his friends to gamble. So the son had borrowed apparently just too much, but Mooney said, "Enough is enough, I want my money." Well, the young Willis didn't have it. So he went to his dad, and Dad said, "I will cover for you," which really meant paying Mooney $4,000, and Mooney gave him 2 lots downtown Visalia. Now, Mooney had a large grove. Did he chop down the trees? No, he did not. The land all the way around that place, though, Mooney Grove, was cleared of trees and being farmed.
Benjamin Tipton was a great-grandson of Michael Mooney through Mary Elizabeth's daughter, Anna Tipton.
One of Michael Mooney's passions was fine horse flesh. I guess being an Irishman, he loved horses, and he began the raising of fine quarter horses on the ranch property at Mooney Grove, which his sons continued after his death. They also had dogs, hounds, and other breeds, which they took with them while they rode around in the heavily timbered areas. They would just take their horses and their dogs and ride as fast and hard as they could through the land, the timber, the brush. After my great-grandfather died, at that time, Uncle Johnny, who was the oldest in the family, was going to St. Mary's College, which was located in San Francisco. And he was in his last year, his senior year, but Uncle Huey was also there, probably as about a freshman.
The brewery was part of the estate to be settled after Michael Mooney died. Hugh was only 17 years old, and he was not about to go into the beer business then. And John, a brewer for 1 year, after that, no more association with a brewery, either one of the sons. Hugh grew up. He did several interesting things, but it gives you an idea of the development of his personality. There was Watson Ditch ran very close to the house there on 807 South Court. And one time he was walking towards town, and he saw a kid about 6 years old coming down, floating, I should say, almost drowned in the ditch. And he very quickly jumped in and pulled him out and saved his life. I think it tells you something about the kind of person that he was. A very serious situation arose with George McCann and his wife. Diphtheria was a very, very serious illness at this time. Mrs. McCann thought the only way that these 2 children, who seemed to be well, can be separated from any more contagious exposure around here, I'll send them over to the Mooney house.
My 2 great uncles, John Mooney and Hugh Mooney, who were then respectively about 22 and 19, nursed them. They had to be isolated, so they turned the soda shop into an infirmary. And the 2 men went in at the risk of their own lives to take care of those, but they all died within a week or 2 of each other in spite of the best efforts. But that was the type of life that a frontier community exemplified in those days.
And Hugh was pretty bright. He had a lot of business experience. He had been vice president of the Producers Bank. He had been head of the Tulare Irrigation District at one time. He had taken care of his brother's estate, John's estate, there. And he was gradually building up, acquired a portfolio of money, property, investments, stocks, bonds, himself. When he was an adult and accumulating quite a few pieces of real estate, he owned a small rent house. The family really fell on hard times. Were they kicked out? No. Hugh simply waited his time. He had some extra lots in the cemetery. When he heard a sad case of a mother and her children dying, he gave the lots to the family to be used.
Terry Oman, a former president of the Tulare County Historical Society, is a retired police captain after serving 25 years in the Visalia City Police Department and is an active historian. He has been quoted and published many times in the Visalia Times-Delta and by John Lint, editor and publisher of the Valley Voice, and in Los Tulares, the official publication of the Historical Society.
Well, after Eliza passed away and the family, the siblings, decided they needed to part with this 100 acres of land just south of Visalia, they actually approached the county of Tulare and made them a deal that was just a wonderful deal. They actually had somebody come in and appraise the land for its lumber value, and it turned out to be about $15,000. And when they approached the county, they said, look, in exchange for $15,000, we'll not only give you the lumber, but we want these trees to remain as trees and give you the 100 acres that go with it. And so the county saw what was an excellent deal, and they actually jumped at the opportunity, and since 1909, Mooney Grove has been a park that Tulare County can be very proud of.
When the contract for selling the grove to the Board of Supervisors, the county, was made, the contract was very short, but it had a couple of very, very interesting clauses in it. One of them said, of course, that you can't cut down any of the trees, they're supposed to be kept in good condition, and it can only be used for recreation by the public, no businesses connected there. But one exception here is you can put a railroad through the land. The other clause, very, very important, and it's been used a couple times in the past, and that one said, in the event of failure of observation of these conditions, the park and all the land reverts to the heirs and their assigns.
Hugh Mooney retained the family's ranch home in Mooney Grove until he died in 1934.
The year after Hugh Mooney died, and the Board of Supervisors said, that's a menace to any of the kids who might crawl in that thing or over that thing or up the stairs. Then the house was torn down.
The first attempt at organizing the Tulare County Historical Society occurred in 1922. It prospered for a short time with support from a group of people, including George Stewart, known as the father of Sequoia National Park, Annie Mitchell, and Miss Gretchen Flower, longtime Tulare County librarian. But the year 1943 brought a revival of interest in the Historical Society, and three general goals emerged. 1. Preservation of the past of the original Tulare County. 2. Construction of a museum. And 3. The observation of the centennials of both Tulare County and Visalia.
5 years later, a museum was built in Mooney Grove, and the Historical Society placed a manuscript containing all the names of its members inside the cornerstone.
Hugh Michael Mooney is listed as the donor of the Tulare County Museum. The bequest of $5,000 for improvements to Mooney Grove Park from Hugh Mooney's will was a key factor in constructing this museum in 1948. Although the museum is located on county property, the Tulare County Historical Society is an unofficial partner in the museum's operation. The society provides time and service, contributes relics and artifacts, and raises money. It has paid moving costs for historical buildings and equipment donated to the museum, although all buildings and equipment donated remain county property.
This one-room country school, built around 1890, was obtained by the Society in 1961. It is visited by as many as 17,000 visitors per year, including many students from the Tulare County schools.
My name is Kathy McGowan, and I'm the curator of the Tulare County Museum. We're in the basket room right now, or Native American room. This room really showcases about 10,000 years worth of history of the local Native Americans who would come to be known as Yokuts. People started coming here during the California Gold Rush in 1849, and you see a few things behind you that are related to mining, but there really wasn't a lot of gold found here. And so then the main focus in the museum really switches over to agriculture and to the everyday life of the people that lived here. The West Wing, or which we also named for Annie Mitchell, the Annie Mitchell Room, is a room that shows the kind of things that people would have had in their everyday lives. So, musical instruments that they would have played because they didn't have things like CD-ROMs or Game Boy. It also shows the kind of clothing that people wore and how life would have been more difficult, of course. For example, in the kitchen tools, we have the kind of things that would, of course, been hand-powered instead of powered by electricity. But people didn't waste things like we really do today. They took the scraps from other projects or maybe other dresses or other things they were making, and they would turn them into these beautiful crazy quilts. They're not, like the patchwork quilts that are very mathematical. These are just scraps that are pieced together so that they're not wasted, and they manage to turn even their throwaway items into a really beautiful piece of art. Another interesting kind of saddle we have in here is the Visalia saddle, and we have a number of them. Here's one of the older ones right here. These saddles were designed here in Visalia. Originally, a saddle was brought in to be repaired, and a gentleman named Juan Martorell completely redesigned the saddle and made it much more comfortable and lightweight. And eventually, the company would be bought by David Walker, and the company would really become famous all over the world and make the name Visalia famous all over the world. The earliest uniform we have is from the Spanish-American War, and then we have a lot of World War I and World War II, and up through Vietnam. The greatest part of our collection is outside with our tractors, our wagons, and all of the kind of implements that would be used to turn this once swampy lake, tule-covered area into some of the richest farmland in the world.
This event here at the Mooney Grove Park in the Tulare County Museum is usually held on an annual basis. And what we do, the Historical Society of the county has this annual barbecue picnic. And we have great food. The Happy Cookers from the International Farm Show, they come and cook our meal and donate their services. And then all of the proceeds from the meal, from the auctions, and everything else that we have here on this given day goes into the improvement fund for the Tulare County Museum here at Mooney's Grove Park. So the next time, if you've never been to one of these events, we would surely appreciate if you keep your eyes and ears open and make a date next year.
I got 30 and 30 and 35. I got 30 and 30. Now remember, it's both items. So those Tulares and the index. 35. Give me 35. I got him 35 and a 5 and a 5 and a 5 and a 5. And I got 35. Give me 4. And 4. I got 40 and 5.
We got asked to come and cook. That's all.
Okay. But you do this as a regular business somewhere?
We do. We have a catering business in Tulare.
Called the Happy Cookers?
Correct.
Okay.
Because we're always happy, aren't we, Richard? Yes, we are happy.
And this is Richard.
Yes, Richard is my partner.
Richard is your partner. Okay. All right. That's great.
I'm an architect by profession, but I do landscape photography on the side. Tried to keep it local for this area here to show people how beautiful Tulare County and the Sierras are.
What a great day. I think we made a lot of money for the museum, which is the whole purpose of this barbecue, as a fundraiser for the museum, and we just very pleased with all the activity and all the bidding, and it's going to be a great amount of money for the museum.
That's one thing about volunteer work. It's always you're dealing with people that you wouldn't be with if you didn't like them. So.
Well, I'm not going to say much because I'll probably start crying just like I did the day that they both on the same day hit me with this decision that they made that they wanted to have a life beyond the museum.
Recognition and really in honor of Betty and Jeff's service from the Historical Society to the Museum Board Our Hugh M. Mooney statue project, or committee, I should say, has a statue that we would like to award to the museum. It's one of the 25 limited edition bronze statues that we made. In their honor for their years of service, we'd like to make that presentation as well.
My name is Neil Pilligard. I'm the Parks and Recreation Division Manager for the Resource Management Agency, Tulare County. We recently had Terry Oman contact me about the Visalia Sunset Rotary being interested in building a new gate booth. Then Lori Tessera gave me a call, and they decided that would be a good centennial project for them, and getting donations and individuals and groups to help do that job.
My name is Bradley Collinwood, and I'm doing Eagle Project. I'm doing the Breeze Grove Park security system, so we're putting the shutters in right now, and we're trying to finish it. Monday is the ribbon cutting.
Good luck. I hope you get done by Monday.
All right, thanks.
Nice project going on right here. $6, please.
The Hugh Mooney Statue Project officially began on April 24, 2004, when the Tulare County Historical Society Board of Directors approved of the Society's lead role in placing a new statue at Mooney Grove Park. Even though the approval was recent, a statue project had been a topic of society discussion for many years.
When the Tulare County Historical Society chose this spot to place a statue of Hugh Mooney, they were well aware of the legacy of statues in Mooney Grove. One of the first statues to be placed there was Solon Borglum's sculpture, The Pioneer. It arrived by flatbed railcar in 1916, having been obtained from the Pan-Pacific Exposition in San Francisco. The 10-year anniversary celebration of the Panama Canal had over 1,000 pieces of art on display, but the Pioneer was one of the most famous. By 1974, it became apparent to park visitors that the statue was deteriorating, and it unfortunately did not survive an earthquake in 1980.
We tried for many years to get something done about the statue because it was made with wood and chicken wire and plaster, and apparently from what we've been told, the many coats of paints on the statue is what held it together.
Raymond Rios was standing near the Pioneer statue when it was destroyed by an earthquake in 1980.
I was leaning on the tractor tire like this, and all of a sudden I was looking down to northwest, and then I kind of saw the ground start going like this, you know. And then the tire started doing this, you know. And then I didn't even pay attention to what happened. And I said, there's an earthquake, you know. An earthquake happened.
Unfortunately, the earthquake took it down. While the statue fell into ruins, I happened to be president of the Tulare County Historical Society at the time, and one of the things that we wanted to do was try to replace that statue. A high school friend of mine is Clement Renzi, who has done a number of statues in Visalia. I talked to him about doing a replacement, and he said he didn't do that kind of work, but he had a friend in San Francisco by the name of Sparrow and Negris, and so we got him to come down. We went over the project, and he gave us a figure, as I recall, around $150,000. And he made it a point that to let us know that no sculptor duplicates somebody else's work. So that was another thing besides the price that kind of made us reserve what we might do.
The second major statue to be placed in Mooney Grove was the End of the Trail, the most famous sculpture of artist James Earl Fraser. It too was acquired from the Pan-Pacific Exposition, arriving in Tulare County in September 1919. It was later coveted by the city of San Francisco and then by the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. Their pleas were rejected until an agreement was made in 1968, allowing the Cowboy Hall of Fame to restore the statue and replace it with a bronze casting of the original. The new bronze End of the Trail sculpture was placed on its pedestal at the south end of Mooney's Grove and dedicated in September 1971. The restored original now stands in Oklahoma City as a focal point of the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. In the June 2002 issue of Los Tulares, Sharon Doty reported that the Historical Society held its board meeting at the Cahuilla Oaks Preserve after taking a tour led by Irene Lindsay, a volunteer guide possessing extensive knowledge of the riparian forest landscape and its inhabitants. In this photo by Jeff Edwards, the official Historical Society photographer, Betty Nagel, a former Society president, follows Irene across the footbridge. Later, President Madeline France was conducting the meeting when Alan George introduced his artist friend, Sam Pena. At the Seven Oaks Park dedicated to him by the Visalia City Parks Commission, Alan recalls some of the events preceding a decision about the Hugh Mooney statue.
Our board sat down with Sam in April of 2002, and Sam discussed his idea of what he would like to do in the way of a statue at the entrance of Mooney's Grove Park. We had many meetings and discussions on whether to do Hugh Mooney or Michael Mooney, the father, and it went pretty involved situation.
The choice of Hugh Mooney as the statue subject was highly attributed in this Visalia Times-Delta article to the late Annie Mitchell, who was a preeminent Tulare County historian, revered as an author and an educator. Before her passing in the year 2000, Annie had expressed her wishes about the statue not only to Alan George and others, but also to then County Supervisor Bill Mays.
I felt it was so significant that I persuaded the County Board of Supervisors, and we dedicated a $10,000 check as the first contribution to bringing this dream to reality.
A committee was formed which was headed by Terry Oman and included members Don McMillan, Madeline France, Charles Eichenow, Alan George, Carl Switzer, accompanied here by Louise Switzer, Sharon Doty, and Larry Oman. Betty Nagel and Ted Batkin were also committee members. As Terry Oman put it, this was by far the most financially aggressive project ever undertaken by the Society.
The goal was to raise $85,000 and to cover the cost of the statue created by local artist Sam Pena and all expenses associated with the design and landscaping of the surrounding grounds.
At the home of Johnny and Donna George, $40,000 was raised in one evening. The Society had commissioned the artist Sam Pena to create bronze models of the statue called maquettes. Each were numbered and signed, with the first and second castings going to the highest bidders.
This is the artist proof, one of the bronze models that was cast. 25 of these were made to raise a good portion of the funds for the large statue.
On September 24, 2004, the auction was held by the Historical Society in this beautiful setting.
What we have here is a scale model. It's called 2.5 scale. That means 2.5 inches to the foot of a real train. That engine is in the Denver Rio Grande Museum and full size. And now this is a 2.5 inch scale one. We get in a rowboat and the grandkids, as well adults too, they row around in this thing. They go about 20 some miles an hour, maybe 25 miles an hour. And just to scooting around this track, the track is 300 feet long and it's like 9 or 10 feet wide. So it's a pretty good sensation when you're traveling that fast. You're only 2.5 inches up off the ground. I think they were a little bit surprised that the #1 statue was purchased by Stan Miller, and then of course Bill Mays purchased the second one.
We had an auction last year that said we're going to raise some additional money for this year event, and had the pleasure of bidding off one of our local individuals. We had a bidding war going, and I got the second replica statue. He's got #1, but I still think mine's real significant and important.
They were halfway to their goal with those 2 purchases, and then they sold some more here, which topped off the amount of funds they needed.
It was just such a pleasure to have this wonderful association out here with all their guests and give it the oomph that it needed to get this project rolling. We were just very, very happy to be able to offer what we could to start it.
Very successful. They were able to move forward and commission the artist to start turn on the foundry, actually.
My name is Ellen Gorelick, and I am the Executive Director and Chief Curator for the Tulare Historical Museum. This was a Tulare County Historical Society project, but we work really closely with the County Historical Society, and so with the help of Don McMillan and several other community members, we raised the funds to purchase the statue.
When I think back about certain events in my life, I can say that Hugh Mooney's contribution has had an effect over me over the years. I would say it really began when I was a student at Jefferson Elementary School. The school principal began taking me to different places around the county to paint and to introduce me to some of the prominent local artists. I remember clearly the very first place she ever took me was Mooney Grove. I can remember sitting there drawing pictures for her of the statues and of course the beautiful oak trees. About a year or so later, while I was enrolled in an oil painting class that was being held at Mooney Grove, I found myself again painting pictures of the statues. And even as a student at COS, the focus of one of my photography projects was a series of photographs that I took of the 2 statues. Never once did I ever imagine that someday my own artwork would stand there.
I don't want to be in that. I basically grew up for a number of years in my early childhood out on this property out here. My grandparents lived in the old yellow house next door to our current office location. Early 60s through probably late 60s, I basically spent that portion of my childhood running through the park. I learned to drive in Mooney's Grove, an old military Jeep over there. I learned to ride a skateboard there. That was our backyard to this house. It was pretty nice. You know, I think it's 133 acres of lawn there, and that was quite a joy to be there. This picture was taken on my birthday in January 1962. On the 22nd, it snowed, and it snowed for my birthday. The photograph is myself, my grandmother and grandfather standing just east of the old yellow two-story house here, and looking east into a walnut orchard that my grandfather farmed. That's when I got a call from Terry Oman on this Hugh Mooney statue. It kind of sparked an interest.
Brian Ritz donated all of his services and coordinated subcontractors for the statue site. An adjustment was required when a large water pipe was discovered directly under the statue's foundation site. With a slight shift in location, the work was carried on.
The next step in the next couple of days, we're going to form and pour the concrete bench, have a rock veneer to match the sculpture pedestal, then a concrete walk area here with courtesy pedestrian lighting and 2 sidewalks that run out to the roadway for access. There are 4 dedication plaques, 3 granite that are currently being carved, and a bronze plaque, and of course the statue has to be placed onto the monument.
Born in Robstown, Texas, Mr. Samby Pena has lived in Visalia since he was 10 years of age. He is a local artist with a national reputation. The Tulare County Office of Education has named their planetarium after him to honor his 38 years of service and dedication to that program. In addition to many bas-reliefs and busts placed in and outside of California, he is the sculptor for the Extra Mile Points of Light Volunteer Pathway, a national monument in Washington, D.C., which was dedicated in October 2005 by President Bush Sr. The Hugh Mooney statue was created using the lost wax casting process. The first step began with Sam Pena's concept and his clay model creation.
Well, at this point, the statue's just about ready to be taken to the foundry for casting. I'm adding the final details. As you can see, I've already added or applied the clay to the main armature. I wanted to convey the message that he was looking up at the oak trees and perhaps contemplating preserving them for future generations, which is mainly why he is being honored with this statue.
At the foundry of Lester Harry's, a flexible mold was created from the clay model, which was then covered with a multi-layered plaster jacket called the mother mold.
Pieces that are already done and used. This is the chest of the man. This is the mother mold. Plaster of Paris. This is the rubber. You can see it's flexible. It allows us to get it off the wax easily. This is the man's pantaloons. And same thing. You know, it's just, you can see, I don't know if you want to see the outside, but it's just plaster. This part is in 2 pieces. From there we take it in here and put the wax in. This is the head of Mr. Mooney.
The molds were used to form wax figures, producing a copy of the original sculpture.
And you can, this is the top that was in the other room. This is, give you an idea of what we're shooting for. This is how thin the bronze will be.
At his studio, Sam finished the wax pattern to its original perfection.
Failures happen in all phases of the casting process. In this case, the brim of the hat damaged, And of course the original was destroyed in making the mold for this, so I'm having to recreate it out of wax.
After wax rods and sprue cups are placed on the wax to receive the molten bronze, the wax is coated with several layers of ceramic investment.
Three of this fine sand on it, it's called stuccoing.
While bronze ingots were heated to 2100 degrees, the statue pieces were fired in a kiln, eliminating the wax and leaving a ceramic shell. Lester Harris was assisted by his mother Betty and his wife Susan.
And this is me bragging on myself, which I don't often do, but I built all of this equipment. It took about 2 years to build everything before I ever poured any metal. And I built everything, one, because I couldn't afford to buy it. It was just too expensive.
After the ceramic shell was removed, the statue was welded together so it could be ground and polished to reveal its final shape.
You know, what you see now is what you probably never saw in the clay, and you never saw in the wax, and I didn't see in the wax. There's a lot of texture there.
The bronze was then treated with chemicals to give it a patina according to the sculptor's specifications.
How does it feel to have it on there, Sam?
Relief, you know. Yeah, I'm glad it's finally done.
We were just a general contractor on the job.
26 years ago and 6 days, the Pioneer statue went over in a small earthquake. And this effort has been ongoing since this time. So what we see is the results of 26 years of effort on our part to work out a solution. And with Sam's expertise and drawings and everything, we were able to convince the Tulare County Historical Society we wanted to take this project on. So I think in total it's going to be about a $100,000 project. So it's going to be one of the nicest statues in Visalia. And thanks to Sam and all the people that contributed, we're going to be very happy with this.
Annie won this for a long, long time, and she really worked hard for it. So I'm just happy that she's getting her wishes. There's 2 of my great-grandchildren. One is 1 year old and one is 3 years old.
And 50 years from now, won't that be fun for them to see?
The man is 18 different pieces. The dog is 14 different pieces. Whoa. And the bass is 6 pieces.
38 pieces.
Yeah.
All right.
Holy
I can only cast pieces, you know, so big. A lot of them were probably some of the biggest pieces I've ever cast.
Hey, by the way, everybody, this man right over here, Neil Pilligard, has been absolutely great to work with. We have got so many things from the county that are really not identified, and it's thanks to Neil's effort to make this thing work.
Oh, he's a good little
I do appreciate that, Neil. I'm not going to be able to acknowledge everybody that day of the event, but I'm going to try and hit the highlights as best I can. But I mean, when you got 150 people that have all contributed in some fashion or another, you can't really identify them all.
Well, this has been a very special day in the history of Tulare County, and I'm very happy to be part of it. The statue's great. We all are very happy and very pleased, and thank everyone that had part of it.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Baca. I'm the oldest living descendant of the Mooney family. I'm here to say how proud I am that Mooney Grove decided to honor my great uncle, Uncle Huey as we called him, with this statue today. He did many things for the community, and I'm so pleased with this honor to him. My greatest recollection of the Mooneys is my great aunt, Aunt Anna, who became Anna Mooney to me. I know that she wrote many letters to Annie Mitchell about her father, Michael Mooney, about her sisters, which my great-grandmother was Eliza Mooney, one of the 4 Mooney sisters. I'm very impressed with all the work that Mr. Pena's put in on the statue, and I wish today that my mother would be able to be here because she had a passion for Visalia. She loved Mooney Grove, and she would have just thoroughly enjoyed this.
My name is Michelle Clark. I am the last descendant to live in this area. I am one of 4 children, and my brothers have all moved on to different parts of California, and I have stayed here. I'm a 5th generation Visalian. I didn't know my great-great-uncle, who was my grandmother's uncle, but I did hear stories about him as a child, and we as a family spent a lot of time in Mooney Grove, and I have a lot of happy memories of Mooney Grove and going out there with the Bay Area relatives and having picnics and riding in on the lake. And my grandmother, who was Hugh Mooney's niece, was very important to me, and an absolute wonderful person, and had many stories to tell of her upbringing, and she was raised in Visalia. So I'm very happy that this statue is going to be placed at the entrance to the park, and I think that it's going to be an asset to the park, and I'm looking forward to the dedication ceremony.
You know, this is an exciting time that we're looking at here as we're looking forward to this dedication and placement of this tremendous statue in the Mooney Grove Park. You know, that family and what they have given and the heritage to this county and to the Central Valley of California has been extremely unique, and many thousands and tens of thousands of people have had the pleasure of enjoying the park and what it means here in Central Valley.
This is a special day in Tulare County's history. It's a day that brings together the dreams, the hard work, and the cooperation of many civic-minded people. The success of this project represents a can-do attitude and a spirit of perseverance, a coming together of responsive citizens with their time and money, businesses and contractors that generously gave, and Tulare County government that shared their resources. The can-do attitude raised its head recently when the Historical Society and Tulare County joined in an effort to secure a grant from the State of California Cultural and Historic Endowment. To our surprise, the state has reserved nearly $1.5 million to expand the Tulare County Museum here at Mooney Grove Park. Okay, let's hear it. Okay.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. God bless America, my home, sweet.
I am absolutely, totally convinced that when Michael and Eliza Mooney took up residency on this 100-acre forest of oak trees over 100 years ago, that they had never imagined in their wildest dreams that there would be a bronze statue of a Mooney gracing this particular piece of real estate.
Hard to believe that it was almost 50 years ago that I joined the board, that I found out early on that if you want to have a good attendance, if you want to have a lively debate, put an item on your agenda that has something to do with the future of Mooney Grove Park, and they show up.
Sequoia National Park, just to the east of us, was the second park in the system that was designated across the United States. And that was because of people from the communities of Visalia and Tulare, all over Tulare County, to make that happen. Much is the case here with Mooney Park.
Thank you to the sculptor for his hard work. He's been involved in many projects. I happen to have a mini statue of this in my office in Sacramento, and they're going, "Where is that? Wow, that is neat." I can't remember my whole life not coming to Mooney Grove Park. My mother grew up here, my aunts and uncles, my great uncles. So it's a great place to be here. Thank you all for taking time from your busy schedule to be here for this glorious celebration and unveiling of this tremendous statue in the famous Mooney Grove Park of California. Thank you.
I like to tell all my friends I'm the oldest living descendant of the Mooney family. So on behalf of the Mooney family, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here today. I was just 7 when he passed away, so I really don't remember him personally. But from all I heard from my mother and my Aunt Anna, he was a kind, gentle, and very caring man with a great passion for this park. The family wishes to thank the Tulare County Historical Society and the late Annie Mitchell for choosing our Uncle Huey for this honor.
The recognition of Mr. Hugh M. Mooney with a statue by the Tulare County Historical Society is not only proper, but most fitting. The foresight of this man in preserving 100 acres of a small portion of the extensive valley oak forests that were in the Four Creeks country, as it was known at that time, is most significant. This was at a time when the valley oaks were being felled and logged at an alarming rate.
This goes back quite a few years when I first talked to Annie Mitchell about this, and she mentioned that Mr. Mooney was an avid hunter and that he was often seen here in this very oak grove hunting with his dogs. And so in what I feel is a natural portrayal of him, standing here once again watching over the entry to this magnificent grove that he was so instrumental in preserving for us to enjoy today. So thank you. I hope you like it.
says the Tulare County Historical Society gratefully acknowledges the artistic talent of Sam Pena, creator of the beautiful bronze statue of Hugh M. Mooney that today proudly greets the visitors to Mooney Grove Park. His artistry will stand forever. Dedicated June 3rd, 2006. Thank you, Sam, for your efforts.
It is a privilege on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to receive this contribution, this gift to Tulare County. And I take it as a high privilege and an honor for the county to receive this, and also a tremendous responsibility into the future to protect this park and to protect the treasures such as this particular statue now becomes a part of what makes this park even more a valuable place to enjoy and appreciate for our constituents.
Mr. Carl Switzer, on behalf of our 4 sons, my wife Helen, a distant cousin of yours, and myself, we wish to make a contribution to the Tulare County Historical Society.
That is wonderful, and we're accepting.
And he will hand you checks totaling $100,000.
People, I'm kind of speechless. Believe me, that will be put to wonderful use.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting project, and as a statue committee chairperson, it's been a very rewarding project. Our committee has worked so hard on this, and it's been so gratifying to work with so many generous people in the community. It feels so good, number one, to have the statue complete, and number two, to have it truly be a community project. The community can be very proud of what's been accomplished here, and as I've often said, this statue is going to change Mooney Grove Park forever, and I think it presents the visitor with a real positive feel as they come into the park, and I think the old expression, your first impression means a lot, really applies here. So I'm gratified and certainly happy it's over.
Someday may I rest their long glad years to tarry in my wonderful grove land, the oaks of Tulare.